Developing today, I can reveal Prince William has in the past fortnight seized control of the British monarchy from a weak and dying King Charles, and that spells very bad news for Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, Archie and Lili. Now, thanks to this historic decision by William, and listen to me, it was by William, not Charles, to strip Andrew of his princely titles and all vestiges of royal privilege, an important precedent has been set. A monarch can now remove a duke title and even a princely title. So trust me, Harry and Meghan right now should be very afraid because it is a matter of when, not if. We've got analysis from royal YouTube sensation according to Taz coming up. And I'll reveal more from this bombshell Buckingham Palace leaked memo confirming William's new power. But of course, there are issues in all of this for the king. Andrew remains 8th in line to the throne. I mean, he might just be plain old Andrew now, but when you look at the order of succession, who else is in there? Who else is in there? At number 5, Prince Harry, who has allowed his wife to try and destroy the monarchy and then commercialize it. Then Prince Archie, Princess Lilibet, where there are so many questions about their birth that I don't think they have any right to be in the line of succession. But before we get to all of that, why plates have been smashing today in Montecito as per usual? Because as Maureen Callahan reports in the Daily Mail, Andrew is just the start, with royal sources telling her a bigger unravelling is coming and that Harry and his tiresome wife better watch out. She writes, it's now a question of if, not when. It's now a question of when, not if. The bombshell announcement out of Buckingham Palace that Andrew has been stripped of his status as a prince immediately, that he will henceforth be known as Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, and that he has been forced to surrender the lease to Royal Lodge, leaves no doubt in my mind Harry and Meghan are next. The sun begins to set over Montecito permanently, and Prince William, as we posted earlier in the week, emerges as the apparent force behind these most welcome reforms, despite the official statement having come from the king. This is William's monarchy now. In that light, Andrew feels more like a pawn removed by William to clear the way for his real target, Harry. Tash, the terrible news for Harry and Meghan here is that William, or hopefully, please God, Charles at William's behest, can now take away everything, their titles, without an act of parliament, which is one of the reasons that there were so many concerns about having not done it previously.
I mean, it certainly paved the way. And like you said, it seems that Prince William is now very much like his grandfather. He is the iron fist behind the throne. It was said for many decades that Prince Philip was the one making tough decisions, often behind the Queen. And I think Prince William has now definitely taken over. I think in part because obviously King Charles is not well and Prince William wants to take the stress off of him. But of course, Prince William does want a slimmed down monarchy. He doesn't just want to talk about it. He genuinely wants one. There's been lots of stories about getting rid of lots of titles, and I translate that to getting rid of lots of hangers on. And Harry and Meghan have gone against the Sandringham summit, which they agreed with the Queen every single step of the way. By now doing this with Andrew, it showed the world that it can, in fact, be done. So I can imagine it's Harry and Meghan that are now currently sitting there sweating over in Montecito. It's very much a case not when, not if, but it's going to be when.
Indeed, and there is more detail about exactly how William took control that is emerging, Tash, from Shooter Scoop. Let me take you through some of this reporting. He writes, Prince William is running the monarchy from the shadows, and Prince Andrew just felt the full force of his iron hand. Multiple palace insiders confirmed the heir personally approved the decision of removing Andrew's princely styling, green lighting Buckingham Palace's shocking announcement without hesitation. Staff say every syllable of the statement carried William's fingerprints. This was fast, brutal, and deliberate, confirms a senior aide. William wanted no debate, no appeals, no loopholes. He pushed it through. Charles may wear the crown, but courtiers insist William is calling the shots. William believes the monarchy must be ruthlessly clean, Shooter says. Andrew's scandals are poison to the brand, and William has no patience for sentimentality or waiting until he is officially king. So that has, of course, increased Harry's panic, with Shooter going on to report that palace shockwaves have slammed into Montecito and that Prince Harry is spiraling. He reports that the Duke of Sussex was blindsided when Buckingham Palace abruptly announced that Andrew would no longer be styled as prince, reverting to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Harry found out at the same moment as the public, and his reaction was instant dread. A well-placed source whispers that his stomach dropped. He thought titles were untouchable. Now he's not so sure. For months, Harry has publicly downplayed the importance of royal styling, but watching one erased in real time shook him. Behind closed doors, insiders say Meghan is equally rattled, worried that the prince-princess branding tied to their children and their Hollywood deals could evaporate. A title isn't sentimental, explains a top Los Angeles strategist. It's leverage in every negotiation. Royal expert and former publicist to Princess Michael of Kent, Shooter warns once a palace is willing to demote blood princes, everyone should be nervous. Tash, wow. Harry found out at the same time as the world, which means he had no idea that there was a way for these titles to be stripped while circumventing Parliament. He must be afraid, Tash.
As he should be, as should Meghan. They have pushed boundaries from the very, very beginning. I would say more so even recently, where they have been almost testing the palace. They've been testing Prince William and the King. I often feel like they're actually sticking their fingers up to the King and Prince William like they did Queen Elizabeth. Meghan, it's turned out, not only has she been using her HRH, she was blatantly giving letters to friends. Jamie Kern-Lima obviously released that as well when she uploaded a gift basket that Meghan had given her. So it's clearly obvious at this point that Harry and Meghan have got no respect. And I think their smugness has come from that they didn't think that this would be even possible.
No, they didn't. And it is. It is very, very possible. And I believe it's far, far more than possible, Tash. Now, I think it is inevitable because remember, William is so much more burnt by the Andrew and Fergie debacle because he's seen the damage that this can cause over decades. And he sees Harry and Meghan going down that path, Tash, accepting gifts, doing dodgy deals. And because their Hollywood career hasn't worked out, and remember, I've always reported that for both Charles and William, there's a sort of bittersweet aspect to that. Because, of course, if it had have worked out, you know, the Netflix stuff, the Spotify stuff, then at least they would have had money. At least they wouldn't have had to do an Andrew and Fergie where they are begging unsavory characters for 50,000 here, 100,000 there. Now, of course, Harry and Meghan are not in that place yet, but who's to say where they'll be in 30 years? And who's to say where Archie and Lili will be? They may well fall out with their parents because of the totally bizarre way that they're being raised, as if they're Michael Jackson's offspring. And then they also provide a risk if they remain prince and princess, if they remain in the order of succession. So this is just the beginning to me, Tash, because what it shows you is that all bets are off. The late Queen Elizabeth II, who absolutely stood by tradition, and I respect her for that, would never have countenanced such a move because it could have opened the doors to so many different wider possibilities. But for William, he wants those possibilities in his arsenal. A very quick but personal message from me to you to let you know that the best way you can support Dan Wootton Outspoken is to subscribe to my Substack at www.outspoken.live. Substack is a free speech platform that protects me from big tech cancellation and lawfare. Paid annual or monthly subscribers get an extra hour of content with the Royal Uncancelled After Show available every weekday with no advertising whatsoever. You can also message me direct on there. That's www.outspoken.live.
I mean, like we have discussed many a time, the difference with Andrew and Fergie is they have several decades on Harry and Meghan. They both seem to be cut from the same cloth, both couples. Meghan and Fergie with their love of freebies and living above their means and spending and lapping up anything that's thrown their way. And Andrew and Harry with their sense of entitlement, their arrogance, their absolute refusal to listen to any advice from when they were part of the royal family under royal advisors and even their own PR people since. They are literally just a couple of decades younger than Andrew and Fergie. And Prince William can see the mess. Everybody can see the mess that this has left now that is only being cleaned up. There is no way that William and, of course, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, will risk the same problems for their son, Prince George, who is still obviously second in line to the throne after his father. He is absolutely not going to leave a risk of Harry and Meghan doing anything to upset his children. And whilst they have those titles, it is like having a job title that connects them to the working monarchy. And it's time for that to be completely cut off.
Now, Tash, we hosted a special live broadcast last night revealing this news. And by the way, it is a good reason if you're a subscriber to the channel. And if you're not, what the heck are you doing? Please just click subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because if we do go live for massive breaking news, you will get an alert. But it was during that show, and it was brilliant because, of course, we had you and we had Brittany and Angela and P. Dinah and Lee, and then Lauren came on later. It really, really was a brilliant breaking news discussion. But I was able to reveal, Tash, that I had obtained this secret memo that Buckingham Palace had released. And I can now actually show you and read directly, Tash, from some of this memo. And I think it's so shocking in so many ways. I don't like these backhand deals that are done between Buckingham Palace and the mainstream media and the Royal Rota, because I just want the report to be, I just want the truth to be reported. And there's some really interesting things in this, Tash, because the Palace asked that the document is not shared or for direct quoting, which I think is a ludicrous cover-up of the truth in what is a new media age, an independent media age. But it also suggests the media should not attempt to ask members of the royal family about the historic statement or even take their picture. Now, of course, that's fair enough if people don't want to ask them. But again, I think we need to know that. What I've done, Tash, is actually release the document in full on my Substack at www.outspoken.live for my subscribers. So if you do want to read it in full, go there. But I'm just going to talk about some of the key sections, because really this is the palace effectively admitting that the king only made the decision after pressure from William. They say these decisions have been the king's, given the serious lapses of judgment which his brother has shown. His Majesty has the support of the wider family, including the Prince of Wales. In an attempt to rewrite history, though, the palace also claims that the king always planned to take further steps, which simply isn't true, because that announcement 2 weeks ago was meant to end this. But anyway, they write in this secret memo, His Majesty acted swiftly following recent developments which led to his brother relinquishing the use of his titles and honours in the most immediate and efficient way possible. A longer-term resolution to all of the aligned issues was always going to take a little longer to enact due to the complexities of the legal and constitutional position, but the necessity of further action was never in doubt. These developments have required time, legal and constitutional expertise and support from the wider family to bring about. It has always been hoped they could be achieved without the need to impose on parliamentary time. But they admit also within this documentation that the king will pay for Prince Andrew going forward, but also, and I think this is worrying, agree that he is still allowed to make his own income, even now, opening up the possibility for more potential unsavory dealings. But perhaps most importantly, and I have sympathy for this, and I know some of you will say I'm a soft touch, but I really do. The palace suggests that the mental health of Andrew, and I presume Fergie and his two daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, has seriously suffered. They write, it has obviously been a period of high media scrutiny and intense pressure on individuals. Private factors, including welfare, have formed a critical part of all family considerations. Please be mindful that there remains a duty of care for the well-being and welfare of all family members. We would ask you to be alive to this consideration in all your reporting and commentary. So Tash, this is a fascinating document which I've decided to make public. What's your view on some of this secret briefing?
I agree with you. There needs to be more transparency. The fact that we are changing how people listen and read the news now. People no longer trust mainstream media. And with documents like that that are being hidden, it still gives the impression that there is more underhanded tactics going between the palace press releases and mainstream media. But what they've put in that, from the bits that I have briefly read, the fact that they are saying, please bear in mind that these are real people. This is our family at the end of the day. That Andrew and obviously Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, they are under a lot of scrutiny at the moment. And like I said in last night's live, I also feel that Andrew has really been put through the ringer. Now, whilst I believe that he is his own worst enemy, he's made terrible decisions, that BBC interview being one of them. There's obvious things in there that people have always been suspicious of him. People will never forget him saying that he doesn't sweat. I mean, these are not the words of a man that is coming across innocent. And then, of course, we had the payment going to Virginia Giuffre. So lots of people will always believe there's no smoke without fire. But still to this day, he has not been criminally convicted. There is not any evidence to convict him of anything, or even enough evidence to drag him into questioning. And I think if there was, the royal family would make sure that Andrew would go through police channels. And to this point, again, the fact that he's refusing to even speak to the police, again, that backfires on Andrew, because he spent enough time with Epstein, with associates, no doubt, of Epstein, that people will not believe that he hasn't seen something that could be of use. But at the same time, how much more do the media want from Andrew? Are they trying to push him to take his own life? Because the level of attacks that are coming for him daily, hourly, all around the world, globally, it's the king saying, please bearing in mind that, you need to back off a little bit. He has taken steps to punish Andrew publicly now, very publicly. This is still quite shocking to me that they took his prince title.
But first, let's be honest, Western society isn't just divided, it's being shaped by powerful narratives designed to sway how we think, feel, and act. Mainstream media often masquerades as objective journalism when in reality it's agenda-driven activism wrapped in the appearance of news. Behind it all are media executives, shadowy funding, and algorithms deciding which stories rise and which stories never see the light of day. Luckily, there's a solution, and I'm a huge fan of this platform. Ground News brings together headlines from over 50,000 news sources and makes it easy to understand what's happening. But what really makes it powerful is the transparency. You don't just see the stories, you see the political bias behind every source, the financial ownership ties, and the coverage breakdown across the spectrum. Check it out for yourself at ground.news/outspoken. My favourite feature is the blind spot feed. It shows you which stories are trending on one side of the aisle but barely mentioned on the other. It's the clearest way to see media bias in action. Here's an example of a story barely getting any traction on the right. Now, this news comes after Homeland Security officials have cited a more than 1,000% increase in assaults against ICE officers, and federal courts have blocked National Guard troops from being deployed to protect federal officers and buildings. Here's a story the left is completely ignoring. Critics, including Israel's foreign ministry, have argued that Israeli hostages experience severe torture and inhumane conditions while in captivity, and pointed out that prisoners released by Israel in the ceasefire deal include hundreds of convicted murderers and terrorists serving life sentences. Seeing every side of the news like this is exactly why Ground News exists. And right now, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all the features I personally use for less than a cup of coffee. Just visit ground.news/outspoken, click the link in the description, or scan the QR code. Over 1 million people have downloaded Ground News and use it to stay informed. Join them and subscribe today at ground.news/outspoken. But now, back to the show. You're completely right, Tash. And of course, it was a suicide. I'm not one that buys into that narrative when it comes to Epstein, by the way, but it was a suicide that resulted in a lot of this mess, of course. And so another one would not help anyone, in my view. I do think Harry's timing this week, though, Tash, has been particularly disastrous, right? Because remembering there's so much focus on why it's now necessary to start trimming these troublemakers, these people who are going to cause issues. And Harry and Meghan can never take away the fact that in the Oprah Winfrey interview, they actually tried to detonate a nuclear bomb on the monarchy that would destroy it forever. I'm never going to forget that. And even though they've toned down the criticism in recent months, there's still so many issues with everything that they do because they are now effectively political figures, Tash. So when Harry decided this week, oh, I've got to do another podcast, I mean, God knows why. God knows why. Like, what's he promoting? What's the point? What's the mission statement? I mean, none of that makes any sense to me. Yeah. He goes to this guy, Hasjan Minhaj, who is, of course, in his own way, Tash, a controversial figure on the left of American politics, which would be absolutely fine if you were just any old bog standard celebrity. But of course, he's not. And this is where the risks come from. And some more reporting from Shooter Scoop on this is actually just so embarrassing for Harry because it shows how completely out of touch he is. He reports that Prince Harry had no idea about the Hassan Minhaj controversy and that the royal team is embarrassed by it. And Shooter Scoop reports that Prince Harry thought he was booking a cute comedy cameo. Instead, he stepped straight into a culture war minefield. Sources tell Shooter Scoop that Harry was completely unaware of Hassan Minhaj's 2023 scandal when he filmed a surprise appearance on the comedian's show this week, a scandal in which The New Yorker exposed dramatized or invented stories about racism, police harassment, and even a fake anthrax scare involving Minaj's daughter. Harry walked into this blind, one Hollywood publicist whispers. His team didn't vet the host at all. Minaj admitted many emotional truth embellishments and was widely criticized for weaponizing racial trauma. A woman featured in one of his fabricated bits received death threats after his special aired. There were also workplace abuse complaints behind the scenes at Netflix's Patriot Act. The fallout, Minaj lost his shot at hosting The Daily Show. Now Harry's aides are scrambling. It looks like Harry is endorsing someone known for exaggeration, says a former network booker. That's terrible optics for a prince who already overshares. And so, Tash, before we get into some of the specifics of what he actually said, this is why he remains such a risk, such a liability, and why it's utterly appalling. And when you think about this in the context of Andrew now, it feels even more strange that he is not just Harry Mountbatten Windsor. Like, why do they keep using their titles? It's so wrong. I mean, by the way, I've said it's wrong from day one. You know, I've believed the title should go from day one of Megxit.
Yes, I mean, Harry is a diplomatic risk, I personally believe, by still retaining those titles. He certainly causes diplomatic friction. You've got his US visa issue, obviously, with him confessing to taking drugs in Spare, the fact that many Americans believe that he is being given preferential treatment. Then, obviously, even in the UK, with him lobbying His Majesty's government to get his security back, he got himself involved with talking about continuing conversations with the First Nations. Harry does not listen to any advice. And the fact here, it shows for them to have said, his royal team, he doesn't have a royal team anymore. Royal advisors, if they had been working with him, would actually do a decent job on checking the backstory of these people. And it's very clearly obvious with Harry and Meghan, they are still, I would say, skirting around the edges of politics. Every company or every organization, every person they associate themselves to very much seem to be on the left, on the hard left, big political views. This particular comedian is also known for being incredibly vocal of his disdain for Donald Trump,
Of
anybody that
course.
voted for Donald Trump. And these are the people that Harry and Meghan are associating with. So whilst they're not directly sitting on a bench telling people who to vote for, they are still involving themselves with those titles in a political sphere. And that also is a diplomatic risk.
100%. A huge risk. Everything they're doing is a huge risk. And it's so funny to me that now it feels so obvious that this should be done. And I completely understand why William is so frustrated by King Charles's lack of action. I really do feel that. Now, this podcast was so bizarre, Tash, for so many reasons. Because number one, I just didn't understand the point of it. Like, he came across terribly and the gags weren't funny. He was uncomfortable, all of that. But the weirdest thing is it's like, Harry, just go and speak to your wife. Just go and speak to your wife and say, stop posting the children on social media. The fact that he had to go on a podcast to express how he really feels about this, because he's actually too scared to sit down. I mean, yes, his wife's a bully. She's terrifying in lots of ways. We know that. But it was ludicrous. It was ludicrous and particularly embarrassing, Tash, that even though it was filmed 3 weeks ago, it was released just a couple of days after Meghan actually went one step further and didn't only post the behinds of the children and sort of the side view, she actually did post their faces all together. So it's really bizarre when you watch this back and forth between Harry and Hassan Minhaj, because it's like, Harry, you're talking about your wife. We all know you are. You're sending her a message via a podcast. This is weird. It's pathetic. But Tash, I want you to watch this and I'll get your reaction off the back.
Example, I don't know if you have this with Archie and Lili. Say they have a recital or a soccer practice. I'll look to the stands and I will see a dozen or so parents. Everybody has their phone out, capturing a really cute, genuine moment. But it's also a surreal thing to know that, oh, wow, I have videos of someone else's child and someone has videos of my child. And now with generative AI and Sora, the speed and rate at which these images and faces and your name and likeness can get manipulated. Yeah. I mean, it's a really terrifying thing. What do we do to save and protect the anonymity and the digital safety of all children so that they get to engage with the digital world on their terms? Yeah. Should parents post photos of their children online? This has also been a very...
Parents can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The reality is, from what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've heard and experienced especially through the Parents Network, is you should be really, really worried, concerned and cautious about putting photographs of your kids online. Yeah. Especially now, with this surge of unregulated AI. You just don't know where it's going to go. You don't know how it's going to be used. Yeah. But that's also really sad. And like now there's parents watching this going, well, how am I supposed to share photographs of my kids with so-and-so on the other side of the world?
I'd love a rubber meets the road question with you, because every parent navigates this differently. What age do you think kids should be allowed to join social media? For me, it's 35. For me, it's 35.
Allowed by who? Allowed by parents or allowed by the companies? Because at the moment...
I mean, at the moment, now they have it for kids. They have Facebook for kids.
Okay, Tej, just before I bring you in, look at this. He actually genuinely believes people should be 21 before being allowed on social media watch.
21 is a sensible age. But the companies they won't ever allow that. Yeah. They will throw tens of millions of dollars to lobby against that.
You could think of even just tactically as just, I call it strategic friction. Like even for me, even before you came here, just taking a moment to sit down with the things I wanted to talk to you about, us having a chat off. This idea of add a little bit of friction between you and the technology. The opt-in is so easy. It's so lubricated.
Oh, Tesh, make it stop. So the guy's a lunatic, okay? Because he's saying you've got to be 21, which is like just nuts. But that aside, what do you make of him effectively publicly dressing down his own wife and going to battle over something that we have said for a long time is now one of the fundamental, like, huge trigger points in their marriage?
I honestly wonder with him whether he even sees having this conversation as something that affects Meghan and his children. You know, people have said for many years Harry's got a low IQ, because how can he sit there with a straight face and talk about parents making sure that they don't post their children online when his wife is doing it, what, every few days? Since she launched her Instagram account in 2025, we've had the children singing, we've had them kissing photos, always in their pajamas, bless them as well. We've had them running around and being dragged around pumpkin patch. Had so many video clips. We've had, as I said, them talking, them picking flowers. I mean, we have seen more exposure. They have been more exposed or exploited, depending on which way you view it, this year than ever before. And this is where Harry's really ramping up, using children as a way to shut down social media companies. And to be honest with you, it's completely bizarre. How can you have a wife that is constantly posting videos of your children and including the accidentally on purpose, I'd imagine, the glimpse of their faces for extra attention, whilst you're going on people's podcasts and preaching and complaining about the things that need to be done? He is one of the biggest hypocrites, if not the biggest hypocrite that I have ever seen have a public platform preaching from his ivory tower. It's just an embarrassment.
It really is. It really is. And this all feeds in to what is currently going on within the British royal family, because if you think William is not attuned to this, you're wrong. He totally understands it, and he knows why it's not just an embarrassment, it's more sinister than that. It is a risk. And indeed, Prince Harry absolutely embarrassed himself at the baseball. We've got video of this, actually, and we're going to move over to Substack now to get much more into this with According to Taz. If you want access to that conversation, then please do sign up to my Substack. www.outspoken.live is the address. If you sign up as a paid monthly or annual subscriber, you get first access to the Royal Uncancelled after shows for twice the length of what we have just seen. What you've just seen, but we do it every single weekday, Monday to Friday. So you can get it with no ads either. A lot of you like that, and watch either live or on demand. So www.outspoken.live is the address, and supporting my Substack is the best way to support everything we do here on Outspoken. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.